Hopefully they won't block that. I'll look at the other day.
You want the first where you have the agenda or you
I'll get turkey go.
Really good.
We'll do the like quick get us settled into the meeting stuff and then
straight into
try straight into that.
Turn it through. My daughter was at the turkey dinner for the weekend. So Monday,
All right. Good.
well, everybody's not working school.
Yeah. You met there, huh? Yes. I'm checking that. We think that. Oh. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. I think we had. Adam. Okay, then I'll say no. I get remember that stuff. We take it. Yeah. Sometimes I break the net Allison while I was walking my dog.
Open road. He's putting the bike seat on again this camera. Gary?
Gary's not here? Yeah, Gary. Good idea.
Yeah.
I know. Oh, so good.
Recording progress.
I'm so happy we're back here. It just seems more
Felt like I was like, oh.
I missed that. Oh, canine unit. I just went to the thing. Canine excites. Yeah. I was like, she put it on my stomach.
That's so amazing. Yes. We'll look at the good boys.
How we know it's a good boy.
Okay, where's Sean's phone?
As if he doesn't, it's right there.
No, I feel like it's in here.
I know, it just beeped.
I migrate all over the place.
We're commenting on your phone.
We're
Am I
putting it
still
on silence.
Oh, you wanna put it on silent? Okay, show me how to do that.
Yeah.
Sean, I think it's right there.
Just want the WhatsApp. Not that easy.
I feel like my children.
I know, I just keep double checking to make sure it wasn't.
I just give it to them. I can do this.
Yeah. I know where to go.
You gonna remind me to turn that on?
I'll put it on the last page, Sean, turn on.
Al, I hear you laughing over there.
We know what,
It's worse. It gets worse. As far as memory.
Al, the only way.
Here.
Well, of shits to give gets drier and drier. Connection, I read correction. Okay. You're telling me you want to contain me a little more here, right?
You're moving away from me.
I was never that close, I don't think. Was I?
Tom's gonna be back in.
I was right here. Would you like me a little closer? You feel a little bit on an island?
Short one.
Hey, you can.
Yeah.
Oh,
What are you doing?
low flight risk.
That's fine. I don't care. No. So folks, like to call our meeting to order.
Sorry, I don't know. 1 second. Yeah.
Cool. Like to welcome everyone to our public portion of our meeting and to have a motion to come out of camera.
At today's closed meeting, the board dealt with the following matters, discussing improving confidential matters pursuant to section 44(2) of the CSPA.
Thank you. So, Member Porche, can you share with us the land acknowledgement?
Yes, I want to acknowledge and respect the caretakers and stewards of this land since time immemorial, the Anishinaabe people. I further want to acknowledge this region as the Robinson Huron Treaty Region.
Thank you. We do a visual roll call now. I'm sure Matthew has noted all the folks that need to be noted. And declarations of conflict of interest. Are there any? Hearing none. So we're going to have one of the best presentations that police services do. I love this presentation. I've seen them for many years, and this is just like the best stuff. So it is the K9 unit. So Chief, do you want to welcome our K9 unit?
Sure. Constable Larson, come on in, please. We'll just have you remain here at the back.
Is that Volt or Royal?
And,
Volt.
this is Wolt. So, I have the privilege of introducing Constable Allison Larson and her partner, K9 Bolt. As the board knows, we were extremely proud of Constable Larson and her partner for going and enduring, intensive weeks of training. And the board had wanted to meet you a while back, but unfortunately due to timing and all of that, she was unable to attend. And they've done some amazing work that the board sees in our annual reports as well as our monthly reports. They've done some great work. So I'll turn it over to you, Constable Larson, just to maybe talk about the journey you and Bolt have been on and some of the work you've done. So welcome to both of you.
Thank you, and thank you guys for having me here. I appreciate the opportunity to come and talk to you guys. I've been with Sudbury Police for 6 years this December. And when the opportunity came up to apply for a canine spot, I jumped at it. That's been my goal since I applied to policing, so worked out well for me, obviously. I met Bolt through our training with the OPP. We do all our training for canine with the OPP, and they've been great to us. So that started in July 2024. Yes, July 2024. And it was 20 weeks. So I was living in Aurelia basically until early December. I came back and been operational since then. Hey. A little spicy this morning. Yeah.
Like, how come I'm allowed inside?
Yeah. Usually, and he usually has fun inside. Not used to sitting and being patient. And he's still a young dog too, so he just turned 2 in September.
And so can you highlight some of the training that you guys went through and the ongoing training?
Yeah, of
Whatever you
course.
can share with us?
Yeah, so we do, we're trained in tracking and criminal apprehension, evidence searches, locating lost and missing people, and then gun and drug detection as well. So the gun and drug detection is another 5 weeks in February, March after a 20-week general service dog course with you.
And just the training that you went through in that, 20-some weeks and how intense it was, and not everybody, was successful in the end, and how you really worked to build the relationship between you and your canine.
Yeah, exactly. So for the first month or so of the training, we worked with all the dogs. So they had about 10 dogs, and we had 7 people start on the course. After that, they pair you with a dog based on some little bit personality. A lot of it is based on where you work. So in Sudbury, where the temperatures can get kind of cold, they gave me a German Shepherd who has a nice thick coat as opposed to the other dogs who had thinner coats. They were definitely long days, usually minimum of 8 hours, and lots of running after dogs. So the dogs are pretty much green, so they're brand new. They have no training whatsoever when we get them. They don't know how to sit. They have no obedience. They don't know what they're doing at all. So we basically, and the trainers obviously are a big part of that. Build small, so we start with like maybe a 5-meter track with like treats every like few feet for them, which is great for the dogs. And then after that, we make the tracks longer, add in turns, minimize the amount of treats they get. And it's just a super long process. You add small increments every single day. So it can be repetitive for sure, but the results are amazing. He's a completely different dog now than he was when I first met him, and it's been great to build a relationship with him. So,
Any questions?
So you're a bit of a superstar in the class, were you not? You're at the top of the class?
I've been told that.
Well, for the media and all the rest of us, congratulations and thank you very much for being a superstar from Sudbury when it comes to canine handling. I love this unit and I love the capacity of the dog. Now, you just gave the dog a treat, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the first time I've ever seen the dog get a treat. They usually pull that little red ball out and let the dog catch the ball like twice, and then the dog's like happy, happy, happy. I've had my treat, which I've had dogs all my life. I can't think of a dog I had that if he threw a ball at him, he considered it a treat. He'd want the one in the hand like he just did. But that mentality that you actually train the dogs, it is basically very professional. That the dog, like playing with the ball is enough. And then I'm back doing my job as a police officer.
Yeah.
As much as we think 2-legged police officers are the norm, the dog just got shot in Toronto last month, correct? And that was viewed as pretty much an officer went down because of that shooting. So can you tell us a little bit about the dog's psychic and how the dog is perhaps different than the dogs that we have as pets? And then I'm sure you're not going to hide drugs in the room today. Actually, I thought it was funny that maybe some of the media might have had drugs. And the dog was getting really excited that it was going to work. But their ability to smell, you want to tell us how many times better than us? And then the whole issue with regard to the specialty of the dogs, because also I've seen the M&R presentations with the dead animals, and then you have cadaver dogs as well.
Yeah, so no one knows exactly how a dog's nose works. It's never been replicated before, but it's somewhere between around 10,000 times more powerful than a human nose. So when I go do school presentations with kids, I tell the kids, so when there's a pizza baking in an oven, we smell the pizza, it smells really, really great. What he smells is every single topping on that pizza, the cheese, the sauce, the ingredients in the dough, he can smell all of that. So that's kind of the comparison. And for them to discern, like I said, drug detection, a drug that has been imprinted on them versus a basket of laundry, it's like absolutely incredible finding for him to find that small piece of whatever hidden. Yeah, so it's really, really amazing.
So in terms of being playful, you will retire with the dog, correct? I mean, your officer, being a police officer, retiring, but when he retires, he goes and lives with you?
Yeah. Yeah.
And is that part of the deal when you sign on?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, from a
so-
previous handler who had many retired dogs, they become your pets.
So how many dogs do we have in Sudbury?
We have 2 dogs. Yeah, 2 handlers, 2 dogs for Sudbury Police.
So do you borrow OPP dogs? Do we get M&R dogs? Do we get anybody else's dogs or just our 2?
We can use OPP dogs if, like myself or Constable Natalia aren't available. There's a handler in Sudbury with the OPP that can help us out. He also has a human remains detection dog. That's been very beneficial for us as well. Sudbury only has the general service dog, so both Bolt and Constable Natalia's dog Roy are general service dog trained, so they're tracking criminal apprehension and then the gun and drug detection.
And that's where our shared service agreement with the OPP would allow us to use the OPP as cadaver dogs and.
So is he a drug dog?
Yes.
And you say drug and gun?
Yes.
So are we talking the smell of powder or steel, or like, what's the difference from them doing that besides a kettle? How would they know a gun from a kettle?
Yeah, so the scent would have to be specific to firearms. So he can smell like bullet casings, firearms like long guns and handguns. I'm not sure exactly what he's smelling. He hasn't. I haven't trained him to speak English yet, so he hasn't. He hasn't told me exactly what he's smelling.
He knows
But
German.
we're not too sure. But he can smell a gun casing after shooting. You'll be able to locate that. And then in terms of drugs, there's 5 that they're imprinted on, and that's heroin, crack, cocaine, meth, and ecstasy. Those are the 5.
Member Bolden?
So we know that Bolt's had a pretty successful career so far from reading our board package, but I have a couple questions for you. The first one is, what do his days off look like? And the second one is, if I was to encounter Bolt for perchance on a walk, or any of us would, how would we interact with him? What's appropriate?
For sure. So his days off, we had actually a day off yesterday. We had a long track on Sunday evening into Monday morning, and then lots of training on Monday during the day. And so he deserved a day off yesterday for sure. He went super hard. So he stays outside in a kennel in my yard where he has like lots of space to walk around and hang out. He's great in there, and I'll let him out in my yard. He has a bone that he chews on and he just relaxes in the yard and has fun. He likes to chase the robins and he thinks he can catch them, but he hasn't been successful yet. Yeah, so that's what a day off will generally look like for him. And then if you were to encounter him when we're out and about, not training, hopefully you don't encounter us when we're training.
Yeah.
he'll like be on leash with me. And he has like an e-collar on here where there's a tone, and he runs back to me as soon as he hears that. He's very well trained. But to encounter a dog like this offline, you don't want to engage with them. Just like in here, like unfortunately, as cute as he is and as sweet as he looks, we're not allowed to let other people pet them, unfortunately, and that's kind of the separation between a pet and a working dog. A great example of that would be the call out that we had on Sunday evening. There was a youth that took off from a detention center into the woods, and all we had was a start point for him, which is where a youth had last seen this guy run off into the woods. That track ended up being about 9 kilometers through the woods between Bancroft and the Kingsway. And he worked the entire time. It ended up being about 3.5 hours. He's searching and sniffing up and down like rocky terrain. He was nonstop the whole time, even when I put him in the down, so that we could get our bearings and check out a map to see possible directions that this guy could have gone. He wanted to get up and go the whole time. And so that's not really an animal that you want in your house as a pet. But it's great for the purposes that we have.
And just on that note, correct me if I'm wrong, and we tell our officers too, once the dog goes into the harness, which is work mode,
Yes.
right? Years ago, we had an officer, kind of go to pet and lost the side of her cargo pant, and because the dog, they're working dogs, so they are not pets. So our officers know if they were joining Constable Larson on the track, like the dog is working.
Okay.
Yeah.
Member Sizer?
So when Bolt is working, you said 9 kilometers, you covered an area. How close are you? Like, does he come back and get you? Or you stay right with him? Like, must have worked hard too then. If you're
Yes, yeah. He definitely worked harder than I did, that's for sure. He's on a 20-foot lead. So he's out 15 to 20 feet ahead of me on a lead. My job is essentially to put him in an area where the track might be.
right.
So if he's tracking, he's going, I'm just following him. He'll show a behavior change, which for him is he'll just like fade off into either direction. That means that tells me that he's not on the scent anymore. He's lost the track. And so that's where I step in. I'll bring him around in a circle in the area to see if he can relocate the track again, because this guy just didn't disappear into thin air. Like, he must have turned somewhere. But yeah, he does probably about 90% of the work.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
And that through chair is the other you mentioned that he's trained on 5 drugs, and we can use cadaver dogs from the OPP. What is there a limit to what they can be trained for? Could he be trained on 10 drugs and could be trained to be a cadaver dog also? Like, there are limitations, I assume, on his ability.
There are limitations. I think only because for clarity for us. So when he's searching for drugs, he has a specific indication that he has. He'll stop and he'll point his nose at the drug. Where it might get complicated if they're trained on drugs and cadaver and explosives is like, what is he finding? So if, for example, we do a lot of drug warrants with our drug unit. I can put him in a house or a car, and he'll hopefully indicate on something. But I know that he's looking for drugs in that scenario.
Yeah.
Down.
Right, and that's just a clarity thing for us as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Thank you very, very much. We
Hang on.
appreciate you being here. Yeah.
Member Fortune, do you have any questions?
Just two quick questions. Does Bolt sleep in the kennel in your yard, or does he come into your house?
He stays in the yard,
In the yard, okay,
Oh, yeah.
never in the house. Okay.
Even in the winter.
even in the winter, yes. Yeah, he has a nice little insulated cubby in there, so he stays nice and warm, and then his coat gets nice and thick in the winter, which is great. But when the spring hits and it it's above zero, the shedding is unbelievable.
I can
Like, it's like,
imagine.
I'm like brushing him like once or twice a day, and like a whole other dog coming off. It's really impressive actually how they adapt to the.
One last question, I may have missed this, but your training from like A to B when you were put in service with Bolt, how long was that?
It was 20 weeks.
20
The
weeks.
original general service dog course is what it's called, and then the gun and drug detection course was an additional 5 weeks after that separately.
And they're constantly training, right? Every time
Yeah.
you're out of the car on a day off, and you're a canine officer when you have a Kong on your outside.
Yes.
So
And once again,
So this-
congratulations, we heard you were exceptional in training.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yes, thank you very much, Officer Larson. Thank you, Bolt. Thank you, Chief. We've been looking forward to this presentation, obviously. Didn't disappoint, and he looks a lot happier now that he's got his Chewy. With
Yes.
that collar, you said it had a tone that he knows to come back to you.
Yeah.
My grandson has a lab, and they got a collar from that dog school out in Garson, but it gives him a zap. Can you zap him?
We do, just because they're offline quite a bit.
Yeah.
And if they're not listening to us, the liability can be pretty
Yeah, that's
high.
what I'm asking, yeah.
So that, like, in that circumstance, for sure. But it doesn't affect the relationship that we have. And like, he's wants to be near me all the time. Like he's just a happy dog. He's a very sweet temperament. You can ask my boss. He stayed with him for a few days when I was out of town. And he's just, yeah. So it like, we learned trust with consequences as well, just like a kid would.
Well, thank you, Officer Larson. Good job. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Like, oh, thank goodness.
Just a bit of a reference, Chief, thank you for getting us our K-9 presentation. We were going to have an IPV update with Barbara Ridley from Cedar Place. She contacted me last month. The legislation by the provincial government is still in committee, and she said she'd like to wait on her presentation until it passes, then she can speak to the legislation, which I think makes sense. So that will be on the agenda at future meetings. Going back to our public agenda, we now have the consent agenda, which you can see from 7 to 7.8. I'm assuming we're all agreeable to what we saw. Does anybody have anything on the consent agenda they want to bring into attention? I have nothing. So the things that I see in the consent agenda will be also followed up in the formal discussions. If we're talking about Cecil Facer, if we're talking about homelessness, there'll be other reports in our meeting this morning. So nothing with consent agenda. Do we need a motion on that, Matthew?
Yeah, just quickly that the Greater Sudbury Police Service Board receives and approves consent agenda items 7.1 through 7.8.
And it is carried. Going to our discussion agenda, our DAC bursary update.
Yeah. So as this board knows, at our last meeting, it was approved that the Chief Diversity Advisory Committee, we selected individuals from the school boards to receive a DAC bursary. I had the privilege of sitting with these 3 youth along with Kirpreet Singh Broka, who is the chair currently of our committee. And so these, it was 3 females. I met with them and their families, and they were happy to be the recipients of the board's generous donation to their future education. One was attending Ottawa University and 2 were remaining here at Laurentian University.
Just a bit of clarification, Chief. All the school boards participate in this. I just noticed that in the reference to the recipients, there was no Francophone boards. They just didn't have nominees, or they
Yet
just,
didn't apply.
oh, okay.
Yeah, it was an application process. And a couple didn't meet the criteria. And the ones that did apply were recipients.
That's just for information. Delegation of signing authority.
Correct. So as previously done, the board's aware that under section 49 of the act, you can designate your signing authority to the chief or designate for operational nature valued under $50,000. So looking again for that designation, and you'll see the items that were in effect over the last year.
Questions, board members? That seems pretty straightforward. Are we having a motion on this, Matthew? I see a recommendation.
Yeah, the Greater Sudbury Service Board received a delegation of signing authority under policy 30, semi-annual report for the period of January to June 2025 for information.
Carried. Looks like it is. Dell Technologies Agreement. This does require a motion.
It does, yes. And thank you to the Manager of Communications and Information Technology, Nathan Dokis, who's here. And I just want to highlight, and I know through corporate communications, we highlighted yesterday, it happened to be International Information Technology Day. We highlighted our members here at GSPS. I said Nathan, I was away in Kingston at meetings, but you know, a note to him and his team. We know that this profession is moving quite rapidly when it comes to technology. And so in order for us to continue to, provide adequate service, not only to our internal members, but to the community, we need to continue to adopt. And one of the things is the technology we've currently been using is through Dell, and we want to remain with Dell. And Nathan's done a great job here of the justification. So again, standardizing the technologies for both the end user and our infrastructure. It helps our team continue to work with a platform they've used for many, many years. And so we're asking through the board to go on a sole source to continue to use Dell and not have to go to Apple or any other product. And I'm not sure, Nathan, if you want to, your report is excellent. If you need to add anything or want to add anything.
No, I think you highlighted it well, Chief. The only, I guess the history of this agreement is, in the past, this agreement was held by the city of Sudbury. And in consultation with the city, looking to the city of Sudbury and this board, so that the Greater Sudbury Police Service would hold its own agreement to be able to go into town. So that's the history.
Member Poland, Member Porche, Member Sizer, we're all agreeable?
Yep.
Motion, Matthew?
The Greater Sudbury Police Service Board approved the single source procurement of Dell technology and use of computing equipment, server infrastructure, and related services through the Ontario Education Collaborative Marketplace Agreement 2024-461, and that Dell Technologies be approved as a standardized vendor for both end-user computing and server infrastructure equipment and services for the Greater Sudbury Police Service for the term of the OECM agreement effective February 1, 2025 through January 31, 2033, with an estimated contract value of $2.5 million.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? It's carried. Chief Strategic Direction Touchpoint Survey Update.
So thank you to the board. We have done quite a bit of engagement as well as through Superintendent Brunette. As we know, the strategic direction is what drives our organization here, and a lot of heavy lifting went into setting this plan and setting the direction for us as a service. And we thought it was important to go back out to community and not just have it be stagnant, go back and do a touch point, to ensure that we as a service are continuing to, best drive service delivery on the needs of our community. And, Superintendent Burnett's been monitoring. We're using a platform, that's completely anonymous, and the public, is going to continue to tell us what's important. Lots of discussions, of course, on homelessness and safety in the downtown, and we're looking to see what our public is telling us on our touch points. Road safety will continue to be a priority, and we will pivot and adjust if need be.
Porche, any questions? Member Sizer?
Good.
Member Poland? I guess my only question is, what's the response? I looked at just what every page I read. So are we getting lots of responses?
We are.
Responses?
We're actually having a lot of uptake. Right now, we're just kind of, daily having a peek and seeing if we need to, push it further. We are doing a bit of a demographic. It is optional. People can. And so we're seeing, our community members out in, what I would say the outlying areas are also engaging. We're seeing our downtown. And so it's residential and business. which is great. And I don't know, Superintendent Burnett, if you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, to your point, Chief, the uptake is greater than it was initially when it was launched. So we've surpassed our numbers both on the residential and the business front for the surveys. In large part, the work of Inspector DePazzi's area for boots on grounds, where we're knocking on doors on businesses and asking for their input, but also extend a thank you to our media partners, because it's a story that not only has been promoted on our corporate social media feeds, but through Sudbury.com and Sudbury Star, who have promoted the link and access to the to sharing information.
So we gather all this information up. It will obviously be reviewed, and then you're going to have a final report. Is there any concern that the report will be skewed? Like I look at social media, I look at when Sudbury.com, I think the title you did actually, someone did a story on this particular survey. And then the people that are responding, I don't think really like the survey. I don't think they like the police. I don't think they like themselves. So they constantly were very, very negative. Is there a way that we balance? Is it the same person every time reporting? Can you identify one person did 5 reports, or just we throw it in the barrel and we get what we get?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the solution provider that we went with for the reach outs is completely anonymous. So to your point, could a member log into the same survey on more than one occasion? They can, and we would have no way of identifying that. It not only keeps the member anonymous, it also keeps the method in which they've logged into anonymous. So whether it be through a handheld device, for example, Android, iPhone, or desktop. So for that, you're right, there is somewhat of margin error. The good news with all that is through analytics, or through data and research analytics, we have one of our researchers that will examine the results and prepare the report, share with our executive team.
Thank you. I think this was just for information. So moving to number 9, finance reports, donation reserve fund requests.
Yeah, so again, a highlight for this board to be able to support some great initiatives happening in the community. So you'll see $1,000 in support of Mountain of Mittens campaign. Chair Lougheed, you're familiar with this. So All Nations has expanded their partnership, so with all schools in the Sudbury Manitoulin area, aiming to donate, it looks like 3,000 to 4,000 mittens and gloves to youth. So we're happy to give $1,000 to that, and $1,500 in support of safe and strong co-creating wellness and safety for Black youth. It's an event. The Afro Women and Youth Foundation is a Black-led community-based nonprofit charity serving Black immigrant women, youth, and newcomers. So our officers will be participating in this, and it's a 2-day event for community wellness, safety workshops. It focuses on root cause of conflict and really helping youth in our community, navigate some of the healthy relationships, team building, identity strengthening, all of that. And our officers through Inspector DePazzi's area are going to be happy to participate in that. And I support both initiatives.
Questions by Member Poland, Member Forte, Sizer? I make the comment that the mittens surpass every year, and they decided they would have more school boards involved. That's why they're a little bit more aggressive with the larger numbers. The 4,000, I'm sure that they will actually get. But I will recuse myself from this vote because obviously I have a relationship with that church. So can we have motions, Matthew?
That the board approve the following donations with funds drawn from the Donations Reserve Trust Fund, $1,000 in support of the Mountain of Mittens campaign, and $1,500 in support of a safe and strong co-creating wellness and safety for Black youth event.
Seconded?
Yes.
All those in favor? So I'd like to stop for just a minute to talk about a success story. And I'm going to call upon the superintendent to give us an update. But if you remember a few months ago, we found leftover money with Member Bolden and I did from the Mason legacy to this police service, approximately $3,000. So we as a board voted that that would go, the people that donated it wanted to go to a basketball program. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was a basketball tournament the first 2,000 went to. We have the leftover money. So as a board, we voted that this should go into basketball for youth in our community. And last night, and Caitlin was there to cover it for our media. Our friend Tyler was there to cover it for the community media. And I will turn it over, Chief, to Superintendent Burnett, who was in his running shoes and a t-shirt with a couple other officers, and it looked like everybody was having a lot of fun. So, Mark?
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Certainly, yes, through the board, through the support and the financial sponsorship of the board. Yesterday, we hosted our first of 9 sessions. So although this time it was coined on the historically on the Police Athletic League, but through the Sudbury Police basketball team, we collaborated with the Sudbury basketball facility through George Sedes, which is a Sudbury resident, a former pro basketball player, and played overseas, played in France, pro basketball, played for the Sudbury Five, played for Laurentian University. George runs the Sudbury basketball facility. In collaboration with our basketball team, we hosted session number 1 of 5, 17 youth throughout our region, through Greater Sudbury, from Valley East to Rayside. There were kids from the Four Corners, downtown proper, and through skills development. And by all accounts, the first 90 minutes of the program was a success. Left there with a few kids certainly dragging their knuckles on the way out of the gym, and we tired them out. And yeah, we thank our media partners again for promoting the event, and yeah, by all accounts, very, very well received. Yeah.
Superintendent Burnett did a great job, by the way, and the officers that were there, do you want to use their names too to tell us who?
Yeah, certainly. So Constable Catherine Karen joined us, Detective Colin Sheridan, and Detective Sergeant Mike Rastavikius. And like I say, it will be different officers throughout the session, and we get together every Tuesday for 90 minutes.
Fairlahi, did you don your gym shoes and?
Yeah.
basketball?
Tyler's got a picture of the only guy with a shirt and tie on that had my running shoes on. No, I will though, once I'm
Okay,
done for
good.
Citus. What I gotta say as the other value added, which I don't think we were anticipating, how many parents
Yeah.
showed up last night with their kids. And the parents were just as excited about the program, because I talked to 2 or 3 of them on the way out. They said, "Oh, this is a really great idea. Do you guys do this all the time?" And you know what? My kid was really looking forward to coming to this. So we're not only helping the kids, but I think we're kind of developing relationships with, boy, those people are helping my kids. So the parental stuff was good.
Yeah, it was nice. The sidelines were filled with those guardians or responsible adults or parents, which is very encouraging. The credit goes to our youth safety officers. So through the community safety and wellbeing program, the youth safety officers are very engaged in our school systems with our 4 school boards. So it's testament to the relationships that they've built over the years, where we come trusted and our relationships are strong. So then when we're called upon or we call for some support, the people present. And like I say, from all corners of the region, you can appreciate our geographies are very large. But yeah, I had opportunity to interact with parents and kids from Rayside to Valley East, Four Corners, Nickel Center, etc.
Good job, Mark. All good with that? Thank you. So we'll move on now to trust reserve board request.
Yeah, the board trust reserve. So you'll see here, we're asking for just over $2,000 in support of our Ride to Remember cycling team. As you know, and I'm happy to see Sergeant Train has joined us. We have many members that go to the Ontario Police or the National Police Memorial in Ottawa at the end of the month. It's always the last Sunday in September. And, you know, we take a contingent of officers and police professionals down there to remember, you know, those that paid the ultimate sacrifice. But we have a team that runs from Toronto into Ottawa, legs, and the board has supported that running team. But there's now a cycling team that starts in Aylmer at the Ontario Police College, and they cycle from Aylmer to Ottawa. And so, you know, we have supported the running team. We now would like the board to support our cycling team. We have a number of members, both current serving as well as retired members that will be cycling as well as providing support to our team that will represent GSPS. And of course, you know, they're on our behalf for the Canadian Police and Peace Officers Memorial. And we're going to take the opportunity this year. We've been asked every year to also, you know, there's safety around all of these cyclists, you know, making this long journey from Aylmer, Ontario to Ottawa. And so we have 3 officers that have on their own time through the traffic and integrated traffic safety unit going to attend. So that's Sergeant Blair Ramsey, Constable Dan Gosling, and Constable Nicholas Jeffkins. They will ride our police motor bikes and lead this ride to Ottawa. So looking to support both of those teams over the 4-day trek that they'll make to Ottawa. And then lastly, I had the privilege of attending, and we talk about community relations and we talk about building trust. I had the ability to attend the GSPS versus the Nigerian community soccer tournament. My understanding now through Constable Scaglione is several other communities have challenged us, and it looks like they're actually going to make a tournament day. So we have some new young fit officers. So we held our own this year. I think last year we lost 8-0 or something, but this year we did a great job and held our own. And it was great. The Nigerian community had food and music and culture, and it was just a great day. There's now a trophy. We had a trophy made, and so again, this goes a long way. So $1,000 to support and offset some of the costs from that day in purchasing jerseys and the trophy and whatnot. So I support all three.
Sounds good. Poland, anything?
I hope the Nigerian community provided physiotherapists as well.
Forte, Sizer, motion, Matthew.
That the board approve the following donations of funds drawn from the Police Services Board Reserve Trust Fund. $2,050 in support of the Project Member Recycling Team, $2,050 in support of the Project Member Support Team, and $1,000 in support of the GSPS versus Nigerian Community Invitational Soccer Game.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Somebody put up their hand. Good, or passed. Sounds good. Moving on to board reports. Board correspondent to the ministry. So Chief, I am also going to, for the record, because I think Krista Fowler is one of our people online right now. And so Krista, just so you know that your letter has been circulated to the board, and this topic is obviously the topic you were asking about. So Chief, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, thank you. And I just want to acknowledge Inspector Dupati, who's present here, and at his presentation to the board earlier this year. And we talked about some of the challenges with staffing our courts system and some of the things that, we're seeing. And one of the things that the board had asked us to come back on in June was, highlighting the closure of Cecil Facer and what that will mean to us. And so by all means, Inspector, I'll give a highlight here, but if you want to add anything. And recently, like I said, I was in Kingston the last 2 days with several other chiefs, and this is an issue. Right now, Kingston Police is having to actually fly youth to Sudbury. We have had times where we leave Sudbury after bail court and we're making our way to Sault Ste. Marie for the night. We have to stay with the youth once they're in the detention center. Our officers have to take a hotel room because the youth has to come back to court. To not have youth housed in the north region here, it is very costly. And you'll see that Inspector Depotier did say that, the existing, we do get an offset and financial offset from the province annually for court services, but it's not even scraping, the surface of what it's actually costing us. So you'll see that the allocations are falling constantly beyond the expenditures. So, we're asking that the province, again, relook at, it might not be Sudbury, it might not be Cecil Facer, but we currently have a location here in Sudbury for the north, and we would like it to continue to stay open. And Inspector Depotier and again, Chair, you highlighted, this letter we received from a local mother. But, Dan highlights the human aspects of this. Again, youth are being taken, out of the jurisdiction. So some of the stuff that it creates, the barriers to visitation for families and all of that. So, our position, I would hope the board's position is that, the closing of Cecil Facer will have disproportionate and harmful consequences to Northern Ontario. And it's not just about the financial, we've highlighted a lot of other issues here. And so again, looking for the board's support as, we as the policing community and policing leaders continue to lobby government, that we have the board's support on moving this forward as well.
Inspector Depotier, you got anything to add?
Yeah, well, through you, Mr. Chair. Thanks, Chief. I think that's a great update. At the end of the day, the OACP is tracking it. It does not only affect Sudbury, but we certainly see the effects here. And part of the concern is nobody knows what the plan is. And so when you think about budgeting, when you think about us planning for 27 and 28 and 29 as a police service, when we don't know starting in April of 2027 where our closed custody male youth are going, how do we plan, right? So that's overlaid with all the other concerns I've thrown in here. And the one thing that maybe I overlooked, but that we have to understand is currently, I think last year we did 80 trips to Cecil Facer. And so someone might say, well, you're not going to have to do those 80 trips anymore because that youth center is not going to be there. However, what they're using Cecil Facer for in 2027 is a female adult custody detention center. Right now, those females come from the Sudbury District Jail. So we are still going to continue to have to go to Cecil Facer. It might be a new name, but it's going to be a female adult facility. And so the unknown is concerning for us. And because of our geography, it happened on Monday this week, where at 4:30 in the afternoon, I sent 2 special constables that had been working since 8:30 in the morning. So they've worked 8 hours. They had to leave Sudbury at 4:30 in the afternoon and go to Brampton with 2 youth. So, I mean, we got to think that's at least an 8-hour turnaround, right? There, back, drop off the prisoner. So now our officers are working 16, 17 plus hours by the time they go there and come back. So these are, and that's one of many situations because on the female side, currently, we're going to Thunder Bay and or the Sioux, and there's times where we have to stay there overnight because we got to come back the next day. So huge concerns. I know we're not the only ones in Sudbury, but certainly being in the north, I think for us, might be a heightened level of concern.
For the board's benefit, if we checked our package and for everyone else in the room, I believe there's a counselor in Perry Sound that has had a similar motion, and Perry Sound is actually advocating for Sudbury to keep the beds here because they, again, to much what you said and the chief said, Perry Sound doesn't want to be driving all over the place, flying all over the place as well. So I thought if we're going to acknowledge a job well done, Dan, I think you certainly authored a good letter. And I think you're asking about that letter to be endorsed today, Chief. I don't think we have any problems with that letter. We'll open it up to discussion to the board. But I guess the question is there more we can do? But we'll just stop because I know Member Sizer has a question for you, Chief, or for Dan. Al?
Thank you. And through you, Chair, to Inspector DeBosse. I'm wondering about, Inspector, about capacity at Cecil Facer. I know you talk about 80 trips locally to Cecil Facer, and then, our 12,000 kilometers that we've traveled to Brampton or Thunder Bay or well, I guess we fly them to Thunder Bay, but do you know, Inspector, the capacity of Cecil Facer? Could those 80 trips, do they result in incarceration in Cecil Facer?
Through you, Mr. Chair, Cecil's a 12-bed facility right now, from what I understand, so they can house 12 youth. Now, I know from my contacts in the province, what happens is every youth facility in the province is over capacity. So that's why we're having to wait sometimes to the end of the day, because what happens is when a youth gets remanded, and so we have a closed facility here at Cecil. We also have an open facility here at NYS with a smaller number of beds, but we don't often bring people there from Sudbury. That's an open facility. And so the capacity provincially is maxed out. So I understand that's part of the concern. I don't know what it's going to look like once they rearrange the furniture. And I think, if I may be bold enough to say this, I'm not so sure they know what it's going to look like when they rearrange the furniture. And so for us, I think part of the problem is the unknown, right? And so I don't know if I answered your question. 12 beds at Cecil right now. That is a closed custody facility. And so it's our responsibility when those youth have court, it's the GSPS's responsibility to go and do those transports of those youth to and from the courthouse until they are released. So it falls on our responsibility. So that's where that 80 transports in 2024 come from.
Okay, through you, Mr. Chair, to follow up on that then to your Inspector is, I'm gonna start showing my age, 30 or 40 years ago when Cecil Facer just opened, when it was a new institute. Do you know, at that time, I think the capacity was much more than 12. There was quite and so that lends me to believe that there would be room for more capacity there. And then just with your statement saying that the institutions are full, are reaching capacity, it would make more sense to keep that Cecil Facer open. So do we know a maximum capacity that could occur there, Dan?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I don't know, but you're right. If you just drive by there, it's a huge building.
Yeah.
I remember as a young constable, as some of you will remember, we used to often bring youth there, and it was a vibrant, a larger facility, which I believe more beds than that. I believe the capacity is greater. However, that really is a question for the ministry. Why it's down to 12 beds, I have no idea. When they're transferring it to a female adult facility, I don't know if there's a restriction on beds there either. And so those are just questions that, as a user or a stakeholder within this whole ecosystem, we don't really have answers to the infrastructure piece there. And I think that's what, brings up our anxiety a little bit as well.
Well, exactly. I think we're in agreement with the concern and that's been raised, and I think that there's an opportunity to further expand the number of individuals in that facility.
When I drive by, it's a big building. It's got a big yard there. It looks like the size of a high school. I think they used to run a school.
They
out
do.
there.
Well, they used to have, yes, they had education, they had school and
Right, and so,
and gymnasium and.
Why or why not that's being used capacity?
Yeah, they
Beyond our-
did. I spoke there 2 or 3 times, and that's when they had the cottages out.
Yes.
They had different cottages with different people overseeing the cottages.
Yep.
I don't know if they're even open now, but I think the point that we're raising right now for the benefit of this conversation is asking the ministry, are you utilizing the property enough?
Yeah.
Are the women going to preempt all the spaces? So we can't use the 12 bids, and can we not find, I think you said earlier, Al, can we find somewhere else in Sudbury that could provide those bids?
And so what we're asking the board today to help us continue advocacy. So Dan represents our service on the OACP Justice Committee. The OACP, the voice of, Ontario Tees, is lobbying as well. Like, Sudbury is not standing alone in this issue. And so again, we're asking this board to help us in supporting and moving this forward and offering this letter to get off to the ministry.
I'm in complete agreement.
Member Forte, you got anything on this one?
I know Ms. Fowler submitted a letter. Thank you for the letter. And you highlight the importance and some advantages of youth staying in the community, close to their family. We agree wholeheartedly, hence why the board is supporting today.
Okay, thank you. I do have what you guys were talking about, if I may. So there's 6 cottages currently.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead. We're gonna give her the floor.
Okay, so there are 6 cottages currently at Cecil Facer, and they're only using 1. They say that there's 12 beds, but there's, I think, up to 15, 16 kids there at this moment in time. And then in the letter, I also wrote that the staff are also cut back on their hours because there's not enough hours for them. So they can expand. Yeah.
Ms. Fowler, appreciate the letter. Thanks for helping with the cottages. I just gave the letter to Inspector Depache, and so that will be included in our presentation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. You order? Okay. So, is there anybody, I'm sorry, Member Poland, you got anything on this one? Okay, so we're all agreeable with that. I think, Dan, your CCs, can you think of anybody else, board members who want to CC? That's good to me. Anybody else want to add a CC to this? If not, we'll go with the ones that Dan and you picked, Chief. And when can we get the letter out? Tomorrow?
This afternoon.
Yep, we'll get it out this afternoon. So Mrs. Fowler, the letter is going to go out this afternoon, and we're going to keep your letter as an appendix to that letter. You heard that?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. I think we've already voted a motion on this in our June meeting that we wanted the letter, so I don't think we need a motion.
Endorse it to go out. Thank you.
2026 board meetings. So is there any discussion about that? Sounds like how we play God about our mortality, that we'll all be alive for this next year, but I'm planning to be. And I think March break, I wasn't sure who in the group would be worried about March break. And then I thought it will be Krista, because you might want to do a March break with one of your kids. So,
I'm away March break.
okay, so we'll make sure that's altered.
So the 11th?
So is there any other dates to alter? We're all agreeable with what I see. Just a reminder, by the way, the dates in November about the labor conference that are coming up, I think it's 24 and 25. And have we got people signing up for those dates?
So for this year's
Yeah.
conference, it is the 25th, 26th.
Yeah.
Yourself and Member Sizer have.
Okay. So that, if, again, Sean and Krista, you might want to put down on your calendar. If you can go, it's worthwhile. Report from the board administrator, that's you, Matthew.
So you have a report there for your reference in the package, which is quickly the board's been working on board labor relations this summer. As Superintendent Burnett noted, we have developed a strategic touch point survey. So that's ongoing for the community to submit to. As well, in August, Member Sizer and I attended this APG conference. It was a good conference, good chance to connect with boards across the country, as it's the National Association for Boards. There was a good panel of speakers throughout the conference. If you was to note, the keynote speaker was a gentleman who runs a human trafficking initiative. It's called Not in My City. So it's an awareness and action campaign, and so it gets involved city, police, and airports partners in different cities to help stem human trafficking. Definitely want to maybe Member Sizer, I know, was interested in it. Possibly bring forward for the city to look at as well. Ottawa had a presentation from their chief chair and board. It was a combined presentation just about the relationship building between those organizations and how they bargain and approach issues. The takeaways there. York board had a presentation on specifically just chief and board relations and just suggestions, how to keep that relationship positive, future good times and challenging times. And Peel gave a good presentation on meeting community needs with a culturally responsive approach. And I think it was very timely as Sudbury is growing both in numbers and in terms of diversity. So some good points there as well. So all the presentations are recorded and I'll forward to the board. You can peruse them at your leisure.
Sounds good. Any questions, Matthew, for this work, Chief?
I just might add, Matthew, along with our staff have been coordinating the fall welcome ceremony. And as you know, we used to cram families in here and have 5 minutes with members, and we've transitioned to making it allowing families to come, because we actually have cadets graduating this week and they're allowed 2 guests. So our member recognition, we are also going to do with our welcome of new officers and hold a bigger ceremony this year. And for the board's awareness, we have put an invitation together and invited the Solicitor General, Michael Kersner, to join us. We're waiting to hear back. So it gives him an opportunity to come to Sudbury for our welcome and badging ceremony, as well as recognizing our members who are celebrating 2025 and 30 year. So hopefully all the board members will be able to attend that in November.
So it's November 5th. It's part of the member awards.
Just about the 2, where are we holding this, Crusoe?
At the Steelworkers Hall.
Okay, so it's a big hall.
Yes.
You said about 2 guests. Is there a reason?
No. So at the graduation at the March Pass at OPC, because there's over 500 recruits, they're allowed 2 people.
That's right.
So the fact that we have a ceremony that when they come back and their grandparents and their godparents and everybody can come, it's a better event for them.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, thank you.
Just a bit of a suggestion to members Forte and to members, perhaps if you could put a good word in to the Solicitor General, we would appreciate that.
Provincial appointees, thank you.
Yes, well, they are. So
Yes,
they
that's what I
represent the
mean.
government very much.
Yeah, thank you.
So we now come to the report to the chief, and I understand, Chief, that to begin this report, do you want to show that video? Beginning or the end?
We can can show it at the beginning. Matthew, you have it there on the USB. So just quickly, and a lot of our members have already seen this, in July through the PAO, the OAPSB and the OACP, the Ontario Association of Chiefs of Police. We're talking about the profession and highlighting the profession and wanting people to join the profession. And we talk about recruitment and retention. And so we joined forces together and launched a campaign across the province called Answer the Call. And, the OACP hired a marketing company. And so what they encouraged all police services to do is take it and make it your own. So thank you to Caitlin and her team and Sarah Kalis. And we created a video that not only highlights our police service, but really highlights the city. And in speaking with the mayor, who I know is not here today, really encouraging people not only to join GSPS as a, leader in the policing industry, but to really join or come to the city of Greater Sudbury. So we released it on Monday, and I wanted the board to be able to see it. I can go with the
Sorry.
report.
No, sorry. Here we go. One second.
It's not up there yet.
One of my very well but what is our small town park and unwavering commitment to community safety and well-being.
With over 300 sworn members.
We turn that up? No?
Specialization. Passion highlights major crimes, intelligence, forensics, integrated traffic safety, emergency response.
Oh, maybe we'll just pause it, Matthew, and see if we can get some volume. Nate, are you able to?
Our members are our greatest strength. We lead the way in member support and wellness as the first youth service in Ontario to appoint a dedicated health and wellness coordinator, providing personalized guidance in physical fitness, nutrition, and mental health.
Girls Learning Progressive Organization through a training policing working groups led by our members.
This is the same video, George. I think on the next one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Progress.
Maybe we could have the report and they can work on the video.
Absolutely.
All right. As one of the few people that heard the volume, it's really good up till now.
So we'll just start with our community safety and well-being section. Actually, today I spoke to Constable Daryl Rivers this morning. We launched our moose hunt several weeks back, and our youth actually are out today with our officers. They're starting their hunt. They will spend a couple of days. They left here with backpacks and tents, and this board supports that initiative. So we will invite media when we have our closing ceremonies, and that's when we actually harvest and have a feast together, and we'll ensure that the board is invited as well. So let's hope they have a safe and fun couple of days out there starting today. You'll see we completed our youth engagement from this summer. Again, very long-standing initiatives here at GSPS. So our Spark, our Sudbury Police Adventure Recreation at Kiwi Park, I went and spent a day out there. It was great fun. to your point, Chair, when parents come, because it was closing ceremonies, and they see what their youth have accomplished throughout the summer, it was great. And just to see what the relationship they had built with our officers throughout the summer. We have our burst and then our spider. And again, I was able to go through the Canadian Tire and the Jumpstart program and see the youth on the end get bikes and helmets and locks and all of that. So again, great initiative. So thank you to the board who supports those. We jumped on board with Operation Freeze. It was in conjunction with Circle K and through the deputy and Inspector Depotier. Our officers were given, when they engage youth, either with their helmets on, or I know through Inspector Norman, our Marine unit, caught wearing their life jackets, they were given the ability to go and get a free slushy or frosty at the Circle K's. So thank you, Circle K for doing that. One thing that was really big this summer and very valuable, very important to us as a policing community is the launch of the Provincial Bail Compliance Dashboard. So you'll see through the Ontario Provincial Police, this tool allows us to have cross-jurisdictional and, unfortunately, an OPP officer lost their life, an individual released on bail, and now it allows, us to drive a coordinated machine, if I can call it that. So we all know, if someone's released from Sudbury, but they're residing in Toronto, what the conditions are. And we have a dedicated bail safety police professional who's assisting us, and it just gives our officers better tools to be out and do their jobs in relation to offenders released on bail for firearms related reasons and violent crime. And lastly, I want to highlight, and I'm going to speak quite a bit today to highlighting what's been going on in the downtown core and the initiatives in which, we invested throughout the summer in our high visibility, and every year through Inspector Depotier's area, we always have a downtown strategic plan. However, this year we added, additional resources to ensure that we were visible in the downtown. So, an approach we took was not here, not now. And the reason we took this approach is because, the downtown issues are not just unique to the downtown, but, the very visible, the very complex issue of homelessness and addiction, is bigger than all of us, and it's going to take a coordinated effort. And, the new bill allows us to seize drugs. However, that was the approach we took, and just saying, you can't use these drugs here. You can't use them on the front steps of St. Andrew's Place. And, Dan's team did a lot of work with Rezo before we actually started our initiatives and had conversations, and they created a pamphlet of, where people can go. So our officers were armed with, we're not just seizing your drugs and telling you to get out of here. We were providing resources on where they could, move and get services. So it was a really, holistic or wraparound approach to how we dealt with this. We increased our visibility. So Inspector Brown is not here today, but we added some patrol officers to support the community response officers. Our officers were in the downtown on bikes. Superintendent Brunette and I, had conversations, and Dan will say, Inspector Depotier will say, people ask us downtown, where's Rod? Where's Dale? They know our officers by name because they're very engaged down there. So you'll see the stats between, the months of July and August. We conducted over 1,300 downtown focus patrols. So those are focus patrols or areas in which, we're receiving complaints from either downtown business partners or, patrons in the downtown. We engaged over 7,000 persons, in these interactions. They were referred to vital services. We also seized weapons, $22,000 worth of illicit drugs, and executed 129 arrest warrants. So individuals that are out, and need to go back to the courts, those individuals were arrested, and you'll see 81 provincial and federal charges were laid. So we were visible. The mayor and I recently met with the downtown chamber and had a conversation. We've created, and it's not listed here, but several CEPTEDs, which is crime prevention through environmental design and supporting the downtown businesses on how to protect their businesses. So we'll continue to work not only with our city partners, the MLEOs, but the BIA and the chamber, and those in the downtown. Any questions?
So, yeah, I think there likely will be a bit of discussion here, Chief. So I'll first off open it up to the members, and then I have a few things I'd like to ask you as well. So starting with Member Poland, Sean, do you have anything to ask the Chief about downtown homelessness, trespassing, you name it?
Nothing specific about in the report, but I'm sure it will come out in the broader discussion.
Member Forte?
I just know I work downtown. I travel from Elm Street to Cedar, and definitely this summer I've seen a greater presence.
Police officers or problems or both?
Police officers. The problems are definitely there, but definitely more police officers.
Sizer?
I know, just I'm glad to hear that this initiative's taking place because we are, even as board members and as a counselor, we're getting calls and emails about the situation downtown, and I'm glad to be able to report that there is an increased police presence, and we are looking at ways of deterring the issue.
Yeah, if I might add about the initiative the mayor had brought forward, would you like me to speak about
Sure,
that?
we're going to talk about a lot of things.
Yeah, it was recommended, Ottawa Police use a online trespass where businesses can say to the police, I want individuals trespass from my property. And we have a bit of a system like that already where a certain individual is not to be at this location, and the business owners will let us know. And we've had lengthy discussions with the city on, Ottawa has a very robust, where individuals can go. And, our crew officers are saying, if I'll use Jackson and Barnard, if I move the individuals from Jackson and Barnard because they can't be here, well, they've gone 5 doors down because they can't, and now they can't be there. We need to find where we can, tell them where they can go. You can go, to this location. Where they will be able to access services. And I know the city's working towards that.
Any other questions, folks? Okay, so, Chief, I do have some concerns, and I guess perception is 90% of reality. I know you're doing a good job, and I know that the officers are doing the best they can, and I know we have significant resources to this. But I think somehow we haven't unbundled this to identify who can fix what problems. Constantly, there are meetings, which are great, and all the stakeholders come to the meetings, which is great. But I have a wonderful term in my life called deliverables. And what are the deliverables coming out of these meetings? You mentioned Chamber of Commerce. That meeting came because of a letter that the Chamber President got from her members with regard to nothing's being done, this is what you should do, you could do this better, whatever. Well, it's not fair to say nothing's being done. Lots of things are being done. These numbers speak to the fact that you're doing a great job. I was at the BIA meeting with Councillor Jocelyn Landry Altman, and she had her BIA people there. And they had almost the same concerns as the Chamber of Commerce. And you got to do more. The guy with the Circle K got up and talked about 20 people every night at his. Matt Hall did like an outstanding presentation with Sergeant Sherry Young. Staff Sergeant Sherry Young and Matt Hall. And they did a great job. And their job was, we're doing as much as we can. I got to tell you, somebody born and raised in Sudbury that owns commercial properties, that has a business since 1952. What's the thing called that you just mentioned? CPAD?
Septic.
Septic. I didn't even know existed. All right. So do we have a communications problem to tell the people that they say there's nothing being done, that at no charge, we'll send an officer to do an assessment of your building and tell you how to improve what you're doing? So there are things we are doing that I don't think we're getting credit for. So I think that's a communications problem. Some of the stuff people want us to do has nothing to do with our jurisdiction. It's provincial government issues. For example, the reform of the Welfare Act. I was not aware that now to receive social services, you don't need a permanent address. Well, all these urban myths about these busloads of people that are coming from other communities that they're letting out downtown Sudbury. And I heard as recently as 3 weeks ago, there was a bus full of 50 people that were downtown Sudbury from other areas, and they let them off in our streets. Well, I can't find the bus and I can't find the 50 people, but boy, that is out there all over the place. So again, if people are getting their social services checks without any addresses, means I can be a transient, pick up my $1,100 and off I go. Well, okay, that's not a police problem. Okay, but it sure contributes to the police problem of having these people walking around our streets with no addresses. Once upon a time, I think you had to have work resumes sent out so many a month to say that you're actually actively trying to pursue work. That's not a police problem, but that certainly contributes to the fact that nobody needs to look for a job. I know my brother looks after our properties, since you use us as an example. Since 1958, Jackson Barnes has been landscaped with shrubs, sod, flowers. Last month, we ripped it all up, put stones in. I'm not sure my brother thought that part out as much as I would have thought out, but now we've got about 10,000 stones around the building, so I hope nobody decides to start throwing stones at people downtown, because we look like the source of the stones. But anyway, it was the idea, when the guy started putting the stones in, he actually came to my brother and said, do you have any idea how many syringes that you had in your shrubbery? All right, so you're not doing a bad job, but we got a whole bunch of shrubbery, a whole bunch of needles in it, $20,000 to put the stones in. M&G are putting a gate on the Jackson and Barr Chapel doors. That's a funeral home. So if there's any place that might get a little bit of respect, we're not going to kind of soil a funeral home. Chapel doors, $8,000 to put it. St. Mary's, Ukrainian Catholic Church, just put fences around their entire church. All right. The fact of the matter is we are doing stuff, but is it effective? And can there be other measures being done? The Premier said he had involuntary treatment for mental health problems. As far as I know, that legislation was never passed, but that would be very helpful to the police, that someone who's acting out, some schizophrenic, bipolar person that needs the help. These people don't need to be arrested. These people don't need jail. These people need the help. But if we had legislation that says, yeah, they're going to go to Kirkwood, Dr. Koka's team will now look after that. I didn't realize that we have a regional jail. So the people that they arrest and go to our jail, and they let them out, they don't necessarily send them back to Thessalon or Blind River or wherever they came from. They're in downtown Sudbury. Well, is there a possibility that we somehow can get resources that say, if you get arrested, sent to a regional jail in Sudbury, we're going to have somebody meet you at the door, give you a one-way bus ticket from where you came from. Now, all of these are what Jerry Lockheed calls deliverables. I don't know if they're going to work or they're not going to work, but I think I have a letter here from the chair of the BIA from the flour mill, Mr. McMahon. And he uses the words effective and adequate. As soon as anybody uses the words effective and adequate, that is the mandate of this board. We have Tom Gervais, our advisor from the province, sitting at the side. So we have to respond to this. I'm quite happy to tell Mr. McMahon, and Matt, you did a great job the other day, telling him we're doing the best we can, and keep telling us stuff, and we'll keep showing up. You even give him your personal cell number and your email address so they can get in touch with you directly without going through a switchboard. So we're trying, but is the message getting out there? Are people acknowledging the resources that we are investing in this? But perhaps more importantly, do we have the results to show people that you don't have to rip up your shrubbery, and you don't have to put fences around a church, and you don't have to every morning gather up condoms and needles and defecated clothing, which is rampant downtown. So Chief, I don't think there's any answers today, because if there's answers today, we would have had them yesterday, all right? But I'm not so convinced that meetings, for the sake of meetings, that everybody gets in the room and says, we know there's a problem. I would really ask by our next meeting that there's a strategic plan of recommendations to the province to adjust revised legislation, to our community to be able to know, everybody knows they can get this assessment for free. This was the thing that I thought was amazing. All the businesses that the cops aren't doing anything, well, they'll come into your business and tell you how to actually protect your business better, and it doesn't cost you anything. Well, they're providing a service for the business community. There's no question about that. And again, deliverables that make some difference, and maybe it's just a very small difference. The Ottawa thing, you've mentioned the issue about, well, they got to move down 5 doors from where they got picked up. But if they have to keep moving down, isn't that what happened with sometimes the prostitution that was over on Elgin Street? Some people say it moved to other parts of Sudbury right now. Didn't get rid of prostitution, but it did move people around in our community. Is that good or is that bad? I don't necessarily know. But if we can have some deliverables that as a board, we can answer adequate and affecting more than just statistics. And I would leave that at your doorstep.
Thank you. That's a lot to unpack.
It is.
And, I don't know, happy to bring some deliverables. I'll just comment on adequate and effective. We are providing adequate and effective policing here. No doubt about it. The one thing, and I started this conversation off by saying this is a very complex issue. And when we talk about the table, We, the police alone, are not solving this problem. The city alone is not solving this problem. HSN alone is not solving this problem. We have seen huge gains in our mobile crisis because it's a coordinated, collaborative approach. And when I say, we're going to sit at the table, we are going to be a partner in solving this issue because alone we are not solving homelessness, mental health, or addictions. And so I believe, the mayor and his team are coming forward with a very strategic plan on how to kind of address some of this stuff and future plans on, where these individuals can go, the vulnerable population to go and access washroom facilities and all of that. And, we will provide all the resources that we can. And I often say that, unfortunately, some of the criminality is a result of. So, we, the police, get involved of, the result of homelessness, addiction, and mental health. So happy to come forward with, deliverables in where we can in the space that we are as a police service. But unfortunately, and again, we come back to advocacy, we see it across the province. The ministries are not talking to each other. We're talking about a health crisis. I would say the Ministry of Health. And so we pick up the pieces. We're open 24/7, 365, and we're the number that people will call. In relation to SEPTED, I know through the individuals trained in SEPTED, I believe the city also trained some people in SEPTED. And so, maybe we need to do a better job of putting that on either the city website or our website. We work with the BIA often and making sure that, individuals know that we will go into their business. It's often, we used to say when we were seeing an uptake in robberies at pharmacies, clear your windows, don't have posters all up, let people see in. It really is crime prevention through environmental design, and that is our space, and we'll support our community partners.
If I can just add
Inspector,
to you, Chair, we did 11 SEPTEDs in July and August. And over the past couple of years, I can't even count how many we've done. Our downtown businesses that have been here know about it. Our BIA knows about it. Maybe a new business that's come in with owners from out of town have never heard about it. That is possible. Anything's possible, but it's a highly regarded program that we've been doing for many, many years. And in the last 2 months, we did 11 of them. The city, to the Chief's point, also does them as well. And we do a lot of joint SEPTEDs with the city because we used to do them on city property until we kind of convinced them that, they got enough properties. They should have trained people as well.
I think that it would be fair to say, Matt, that the majority of those businesses in that room didn't know about SEPTED. You were telling them for the first time and they said, oh, yeah. And then like you said, whatever you do, don't have a heated concrete because the people are going to sleep there. Well, 2 of them had heated concrete. Like it was simple stuff that actually they thought Matt could walk on water by the time it was over because he was just giving them common sense stuff.
Well, Matt can walk on
I was
water.
gonna say,
I've seen
he
it.
definitely
But it's all about target hardening, right? It's all about target hardening. And so that applies to businesses, that applies to the city and city infrastructure and city master plan. And that's why we've been at the table at some of those meetings, because nowadays, it's not about having the prettiest building on the block, because you can have the prettiest building on the block. But if it creates opportunity for vulnerable people to congregate, then your pretty building is no longer pretty based on people around it. So that's why we always say, before you do anything, call us, reach into some experts, find out, what kind of pitfalls you might be getting into or what you might be creating.
But to be fair to you, Dan, you guys have those neighborhood meetings all the time. ICANNs or whatever.
Can meetings,
Cans.
Community
So
Action Network.
You could have a package that every meeting you say, by the way, if you've got a convenience store in if you have a new business in here, we're prepared to, I think getting the word out, because to your point, people love the program. Nobody in the room said, oh, that's a dumb program. Everybody said, can we do more of that? But I think I come back to what I said, Dan, at the beginning. It's communication. It isn't that we're not doing it. It's how to communicate to do it. People know about it.
Sure, it's not binding on anything, but what we've seen in the past is we've got complaints. We've gone there, we've done a SEPTED. We've given recommendations. A year later, the business is calling us complaining. So we go back and say, have you implicated or have you, put into practice anything that we've put forward? Oh, no, we haven't. So then we've gotten some traction that way. So
I think Staff Sergeant Young mentioned that at the meeting too. Don't waste our time if you're not going to do the stuff. So again, it comes down to communication, but as long as you've heard what I've said, it is partnerships, but somebody has to make the recommendation. We had the social service lady was there and she's nodding her head about, yeah, should have permanent addresses for those folks. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. It's like the mice with the bell for the cat's neck. I'm hearing everybody's got some nice ideas, but how do you get the bell on the cat's neck? And I think if we can start having formal motions that Al and company can then send to the premier, say, yeah, we got to do some welfare reporting. So where's our methadone clinic? On Elgin Street. So they get their methadone and they're being let out right downtown. All right, that's geography. That's,
Well, there's more than one.
there is right across the street from one another too. But does geography speak to how we position methadone clinics? Like there's some very practical things that you can just look at it and say, maybe that's just not the smartest thing we're doing right now.
Look at our downtown. The Samaritan Center is in one spot. Vita Heal Crisis is in another spot. We've got another methadone clinic on the other end. We've got Energy Court. So our vulnerable population, in order to get services, has to go across our downtown several times a day.
So Mr. Sizer is sitting at the table. There is this fantasy that, in fact, Dan, they're going to use Energy Court and build some structures there and try to centralize everything there. So let's say everybody has a meeting. Good idea. What are we doing from the meeting to develop Energy Court for the solution? I guess I got a phone right now with 3 different phone calls about, you're the chair of the police services board. Why aren't you doing more about the trespassing? Why aren't you, hey, they're shooting up in the ankles. Hey, we talked about this at the meeting. Put blue lights over your canopies because they can't find the veins. Well, guess what? Jackson Barnes drive by there tonight. We put blue lights in 2 months ago. So then the comment was, well, get ready for some tinfoil because they'll get their lighters and do the hash instead of because they can't do the veins. Like, okay, I never knew that because they don't take drugs. But you know what? It's kind of interesting. Tim Hortons taught Joffrey to put blue lights in. Can we communicate this better to the larger group? Just to understand, we want to be compassionate to the people who need the help. But the people who are abusing, we need to kind of try to restrict with boundaries. I've been a trustee at the mission for 20 years. There isn't anybody in this room that you want to challenge me about feeding the hungry and helping people. I'm on the top of that list. I love feeding people. I love helping people. And we did a barbecue on Monday, Dan. Okay, we're on Energy Court. First time in my life I've been to Energy Court. I didn't believe that existed in Sudbury. There are people there that look like zombies, and I'm not exaggerating that. These people are terrorized by the outcomes of drugs. There was a woman in her late 30s on her hands and knees under a stairway going through crap, and I said to her, can I help you? And she said, I'm looking for cigarette butts so I can smoke them. This is Canada in 2025, and we've got a grown woman trying to find cigarette butts. Something is wrong, all right? So if we can help that lady, I'm all in. But the people who don't want to be helped, the people who are breaking the system, then we need the recommendations to try to change that. That's all I'm asking, Chief. And I'm not suggesting we have answers today. I think we're trying the best we can. But can we get some deliverables? Maybe it is Energy Court now. Maybe you and your colleagues need to say, let's put up some Butler buildings. I know the Samaritan Center, for the record, the Mission and Blue Door are tenants. They do not own Samaritan Center. Samaritan Center is run by a different board. So if you went to Amanda LeBlanche and said, I think you should do the food over Energy Court, and we're going to have everybody over there, we could likely have a transition. So people are willing to help. They just have to know where the help is.
Yeah, and I just want to be very cautious on staying in, our scope of work here.
Yep.
And when we talk about the vulnerable population, all of that, we will support, but we've talked about, having social navigators with us. That's not our scope of work. And so I want to be very cautious as we embark on this.
Sean?
Well, I think we've seen some good police work. We've seen some good data from this report. And I think now, Chief, this board is putting some, for lack of a better term, some heat on you. So when you come back to that central table, there's a level of accountability there. And my hope and expectation would be that other groups like ours would continue to apply pressure. So you're not the only one, because to your point, we do have our lane that we have to stay in. We are making progress in that lane, but you're dependent upon a lot of other folks around that table to do their job as well.
Yeah.
Any other comments, Krista, Al?
Oh, good.
Moving along there, chief.
Yeah, so, we'll just go through here and I know the board has seen this and read this already. So, you'll see when we talk about recruitment, our 911 ECC is looking to expand, their staff there. We held some information sessions, which resulted in 260 applications being received. We've just completed our interviews and, the HR staff along with, Andrea Savage will be onboarding, new members into the organization. And again, you'll see there's no lack of calls that come into the 911 ECC. Next is patrol operations. Again, Inspector Brown is off. You'll see some significant incidences in which our patrol members responded to. They're noteworthy here. And then lastly, like I had mentioned, we took a member from every platoon and assigned them in conjunction with the community safety and wellbeing unit, and they were out visible in the downtown as well. So patrol operations members as well as the CSWB, they were in the downtown. Of course, that is not, our officers are daily in the downtown. So, but we did put dedicated resources into the downtown and continue to work through Sergeant Hall's team with the BIA and the business partners downtown. I'll move on to Inspector Norman's area, the integrated operations. As you can see, summer was very, very busy for the integrated traffic safety unit. Again, road safety continues to be, a priority for our community members, especially out in the outlying areas. The inspector has met with Councillor Perron as well as Councillor Lapierre and Labie. We've heard of street racing and off-road vehicles and lots of complaints in the outlying areas. So you'll see they did quite a bit of enforcement, whether it was marine or off-road vehicle safety, as well as, of course, ride program. We want to increase our visibility, not only in the downtown core, but out on the roadways and waterways and trails as well. And so you'll see that they did do that. We don't have our stats for motor vehicle collisions for August. But again, you'll see just in June and July, there were over 500 motor vehicle collisions that were went through the collision reporting center, and some highlights there. Our tactical team, in conjunction with the criminal investigations team, executed some high-risk search warrants, as well as internet child exploitation searches, and continue to assist there. You'll see again in both of those areas some significant drug seizures, fentanyl, cocaine, currency taken off the streets. Again, ERU remained, we had a recent homicide and just, being available and that public awareness and high visibility. Last week, it's not noted here because it only happened last week. We will mention it. It's usually month to month, but we will mention that through Staff Ornella and Superintendent Brunette and Caitlin Dunn, we hosted a, kind of a town hall with the residents along with MLEOs and housing at Rumball Terrace, and spoke to, the safety and security in relation to our recent homicide. So it was very well received by, the individuals who live there and that community reassurance when it comes to public safety.
Questions, folks, on integrated operations? But I guess the obvious question, Chief, is because it's all over the media. Do we have any opinion on speed cameras?
Do we have any? Again, a city initiative. We believe that, the data is showing that it is reducing speeding. And, the people will say that, it's a cash grab. I know that the city, and correct me if I'm wrong, Councillor Sizer, the city puts them in areas of which are community safety zones. So school zones where we know we have increased speeding. We went out on the first day of school, educating the public. There's youth here, so they're not put in areas where it's just people are driving fast. They're very strategic in where they're put. Reduce speeding. We know that speed kills, and if there's anything, any deterrent that encourages people to drive appropriately and safely, then we as a police service will support that.
I'm amen to that. By the way, if we drive, property out in the valley. And it's funny, wherever the radars have been or are, there's a massive slowdown. Like they're never too sure when they've taken them away. So people just keep slowing down in McRae Heights, which is great. So I can't see, and I had, again, people bitch about today's meeting and say, well, you're the chair. Make sure you get up there. You know, Premier Ford's right. It's just a tax grab. Make sure that the police board says it's a tax grab. And I said, you know, it seems to me the only people that get the tickets are the ones speeding. Just for food for thought, just we all understand that. The guy that's going the limit isn't getting a ticket. All right. So if you got a ticket, it meant you were speeding. So if you want to rationalize you broke the law and now you've had to pay some money towards that, I'm sorry, I fallen on deaf ears with me. So I very much, Chief, I'm glad to hear our traffic division. It's a great idea. Inspector Bob Norman, the only other question I had with regard to collisions, do we ever give any tickets out for jaywalking? Because I got to tell you, downtown, it's often called dodge 'em because everybody just decides wherever they are, they can just walk across the street and nobody cares about it. And I would think that might contribute to pedestrians getting hit.
Go ahead if you'd like.
Thank you for the question. Jaywalking is an offense. And again, it happens to be a concern that we have for public safety. The efforts that we put into being downtown, being present, is going to result in those offenses being identified and targeted. For the most part, if we're in the right place at the right time and see it happen, we'll be there to address it. But again, it's about us being there when it happens.
But you do give out tickets.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Okay, that's good.
And I know through corporate communications, we recently did a thing on pedestrian safety and encouraging people to obey by the rules of, you know, the crosswalks and, yeah. So even with this fence outside here, you know, we see people running across.
With the automated speed enforcement cameras, the city study shows, our traffic department shows that not only is the reduction in speed while the cameras are in force and in the location, but in the follow-up to it, there's also a reduction. People have become aware and slow down in those areas. So it's more than just a one-time effect. It is effective.
For the record, we don't know what the grace number is. If I get called about that anymore, well, Jerry, when do you get the ticket? Is it 5 over? Is it 10 over? I want to know where I can go. Again,
It's not how it
problem
works.
with that reasoning. Sorry. Let's go on to criminal
Yeah,
investigations.
criminal investigations, you know, no shortage of some tough work going on there and some great work. And thank you to our members of the team that are here. You know, again, a male arrested for historical IPV incidences, suspect located in charge after a fatal domestic incident. As we know, our IPV incidences, you know, are increasing, continue to be our largest call for service. Sergeant Demers is here. We recently, as a police service, have a dedicated IPV unit where we have dedicated officers working in this area, hopefully be able to not only, you know, streamline how we address these incidences, but give a better service to our victims and survivors of IPV. So, you know, we're in a kind of pilot project now, but we're seeing great results. And again, just not only giving our frontline officers the ability to be out and doing other things while the dedicated team is addressing these IPV incidences, but, you know, our training will be you know, coordinated, and they will get dedicated training to be able to give better, you know, victim attention in these incidences. Again, the fatal shooting on Clemo, we continue to, you know, work towards arresting and holding those accountable in that crime. And again, no shortage of work in that area. I'll move over to the integrated crime section in drug enforcement. We continue to, you know, deal with a lot of drug trafficking coming into our city. And you'll see here, again, several seizures made at the June meeting. We talked about, you know, provincial coordinated work we've done, as well as a lot of seizures. So you'll see again, 32,000 seized in one incident, 125,000 of drugs taken off our streets. So thank you again to our team. And then you'll just on a random traffic stop. So through investigative techniques as well as, sometimes right place, right time and great police work. We seized over 42,000 in illicit drugs as well as a firearm and a CEW taken off our streets. So thank you to the team in criminal
What a
investigations.
question from,
So Chief, 1.3 to me seems like an awful lot of money and illicit drugs taken off the street, so good work. Is that, how does that compare?
And we said this in our media with the OPP and our Project Saturate. Unfortunately, what we're taking off is just, scraping the surface. We're seeing, our partners on Manitoulin Island, drug trafficking, human trafficking. They're preying on the vulnerable, and it's a lucrative business, and these individuals know that. And, for one arrest, there's 10 waiting to come into our community.
from under 10.
Yes, yeah, sometimes in town, yeah. So again, corporate communications, and thank you, Caitlin, we'll just highlight, and you can see for yourselves, highlight, some of the community events. One of the things, we hired an intern for our wellness unit, again, through the Sudbury Police Association, as well as, our senior leadership team, our member wellness. And that was one of the things I said as I took on the job of chief, was wanted to focus on member wellness. So some of the initiatives that we've done internally have been great. And one, we did survey our members, wanted some pet therapy. And so I know EMS has a service dog in, but we've done
We have Bolt.
yeah, we have Bolt. Don't touch Bolt.
Touching.
So we have done a couple of days. Unfortunately, each time we have done it, I have not been present, but great feedback. So we've been bringing in Health Sciences Norris, like pet therapy. And so downstairs we have a spot, and our members can go, take a break from their desk and go and engage, and some great photos, and well received by our members. Thank you, Chair Lougheed, and your support of L'Arche. I know myself and member Fortier were able, and Superintendent Brunette were able to participate in Burger Wars again. And, our dear friend Kula at the Apollo, I was able to join her and L'Arche, and again, our DAC. So one of the things I'd like to note is on October 8th, and I invite, our board members, and I know media has already been invited. It's the return of our superheroes, the Little Heroes, a great initiative with Neo Kids, and our tactical team, our ERU team, will rappel off HSN and have a great night with not only our community but those that are undergoing treatment at the cancer center.
That's a great video that's downstairs, by the way. Kaylin, kudos to you. It's like it's right out of Hollywood. It's great.
Yeah, so again, these are just highlights of, great work we're doing internally as well as in the community. And, so just some highlights for you, the board, to know what's been going on in between meetings. So thank you.
Lots of good stuff. So thank you. And I forgot the video. I think they got the volume fixed on that. Before we do the video, any questions for the chief about any of those other reports? And Poland?
Kudos to whoever comes up with the names of those youth camps to come up with those funky acronyms.
Oh.
So you got to think about that stuff in advance.
Yeah, we have an acronym for everything.
Like really, it's hard to keep up.
Member Forte, you got questions? Or Sizer?
No, I just think I'm going to invest in a lot of river rock.
I'm just gonna take some. New business? Anybody got any new business? Next meeting is October the 15th. And at that time, we are going to start likely looking at some budget stuff as well, as a heads up. So having said that, we have video, we have volume.
Technology.
Working against you.
It's on YouTube, so. Matthew, down below like the,
I want to see.
Matthew's got a lot of backseat drivers here.
yeah.
Sorry, I don't know how to get.
So I kind of.
Fix my phone. You can probably do it, Chief.
That was an easy fix shot.
I live in my little technology bubble here, okay, Krista?
Do you keep it on all day? Like, you just don't?
I never turn it off. Something goes sideways, I gotta pay attention.
Can you send that to us?
Yeah.
I can send
So
I just-
Okay, Matt.
sound like Moses. Okay, so Chief, I think Matthew's going to send that to us, to the board, so we can watch it on our phones. I'm sure the rest of the room has seen it. They're all nodding their heads, Chief, so that's great.
Yeah.
I think you can send it to me, or you send it to me?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to declare this meeting adjourned. If everyone has a good afternoon, and we'll see you in October.
Yeah.